Hello and welcome to another episode of UK Crossover, your UK-based Philadelphia 76ers podcast. As always, I'm joined by Sam. Sam, we are doing pretty well at the moment, aren't we?
We are. We just said before we went live that this could be the best, most positive podcast we've ever done.
Yeah, we're chomping at the bit to get started on this. Normally, Sam and I, we have a good 10, 15-minute catch-up, just, see how we're getting on. But we're just like, we just want to get chatting. We really want to get chatting about what's been happening over the last week or so. Because as Sam has previously alluded to, this is the most positive we have felt about the Sixers in so long, and probably the most positive podcast we're going to have. So, the irony, of course, will be is when you're listening to this, we might already be out of the playoffs. But the hope would be is that we have marched steadily on into the second round. And there's so much to unpack, and you almost don't know where to begin. But I guess where we'd want to start is what we saw this morning in the early hours. So, Sam, you watched it live. I watched it a couple hours later, just before I went to work. And I think both of us spent this morning, and indeed probably the early hours of the afternoon, and judging by our attitudes this afternoon, pretty buzzing. I didn't see that coming. I thought, one win, fine, that looks good. 2 wins, respectable. We've got it back to 3. We're taking it to Game 7 in Boston. This is inconceivable. Did you ever imagine the Sixers, this roster, with this coaching staff, with this, if quite frankly, inept organization would ever mount a comeback just like this?
Absolutely not. As we said, we're used to the negativity of this team, and it's a very strange thing. Like me and you have said, for us as well. We're hoping it's not like the FA Cup semi-final for us, where we've taken the lead against Man City. There's not long to go, and you think you could hold on and win for this. And I'm just hoping that we don't get a little bit of hope, and then we get fall at the last hurdle. But we said this, we're Saints proud of them, and you're proud of any team if in whatever sport you get to, if they get to a Final Four or whatever. The Flyers, obviously, everyone's proud of what they've done, getting to the second round no matter what happens. The Phillies have started to turn it around. So the focus really is on the Sixers and Flyers at the moment. So, yeah, there's a lot of discussion about it, but I never thought that. Every time discussion was Flyers, they're doing well. Sixers, they're going to be the team that let us down. And they've just stepped up. It's like they were jealous of the fact Flyers are getting all this positive news and gone, no, we're gonna step up and we're gonna go do something. And I just can't believe it, that to win back to back and coach defensively. I mean, we'll get into it, but yeah, phenomenal.
And I think I'll let you take the reins on that. I mean, I think it's so easy to look at this and say, well, Embiid's back, and that's the reason why. And don't get me wrong, that is a huge reason why. If Embiid hadn't come back, we would be out. But there's more to it. There is genuinely more to it. So I think you're about to really go for something which perhaps people aren't quite appreciating, and that is the defensive side. I mean, that is, for me, this is one of the best defensive displays I've seen under Nurse since his whole time as a Sixer coach. I mean, what's been the key here?
I mean, I think the way he's used the wings, Nick Nurse, Paul George and Kelly Oubre, and what we've noticed is he's mixed it up, and I think he's really trying to make Boston think about how they're going to counter it, and they decided not to and just try to do their usual threes. But the way that they've defended, getting fouls from Brown, because Brown loves to push off, and they're stopping that. And, I think Paul George got 2 fouls on him, and I think Kelly got 2 fouls on him. There was definitely 4 between the two that they gained from Brown. I just think that the assignments he's done and kind of letting them shoot the threes, for me, is the key. We're making sure that we're happy for, their big or whoever that isn't Brown, Tatum, pretty much take a 3, and it's just made a massive difference. They had loads of open threes last night, the Celtics, but they didn't make them, because the ones that we were worried about, we did. And then when they go to the rim, they're meeting someone, physical, whether that's Embiid being there, and the way Embiid's positioning himself, he's not there to. There was a couple of plays last night where you saw Embiid go into the paint, left his man, and he's kind of gone in waiting for the drive to the rim, and he's there, so they're hesitant a bit anyway. And then Kelly or Paul's come in and stopped it. I just think the whole defensive is, and it's not necessarily a set scheme. It's just the way that he's getting them to assign the assignment, and then just making them scared to kind of go at the rim at a power, and then also make them let them think that they can shoot threes, and they're just not making them. So it's just It's great. It's great.
Mm.
But the only downside is that if they do start making the threes, how would he adjust? Because the last 2 games, their threes have been quite poor.
Yeah, and I think it was a tactical masterclass I felt yesterday, and I really think we've criticised Nurse so much, and I do probably think unless something quite remarkable happens this playoff, he does still have to go. But everything he did yesterday, I thought was brilliant. I think he's had a word with his backcourt. Obviously, we know VJ and we know Tyrese aren't the biggest, but they played big. They took the bumps. They matched the physicality. They went at the bigs. Tyrese, I think in a couple games before, they wasn't going at someone like Cater. Didn't fancy meeting him at the rim. This time around, he's doing it. He's going for it. And that's what got Cater in foul trouble, amongst other things, of course. Equally, you mentioned, they let them hit the threes. And he cleverly had the schemes in place whereby he knew, right, he's clearly told someone or told the team, Embiid, whilst he does a few rebounds here and there, he's not going to rebound like a traditional center. You've got to go make up for that. And the amount of rebounds our backcourt's getting, Paul George is getting, Kelly Oubre is getting, is phenomenal. And I think even when Embiid's off the floor, we're saying, right, you can shoot your three, because I know you've liked your second chance points off of us in recent years, or recent games, sorry. But now we've got Andre Drummond on the floor, who, fine, we know his faults, but we also know he's one of the greatest rebounders to ever do it. So if you make that three, you make that three, fine. If you miss it, you've got to try and beat him to that board. And if there's one thing that bloke takes pride on, well, there's two things now. It's rebounding, and you guessed it, corner threes. Devastated that one didn't get given to him at the end of the third quarter, or the third quarter. But it was foot on the line, and you can't argue with that, unfortunately. But we had the correct people, we had the correct lineups, and that made sure that we could maintain that lead. So super impressive. I think the guy that you've mentioned, but I will just say again, Paul George has rightfully got so much criticism, but he is showing his worth, and that is on the defensive end. And fine, he's not getting 23 points per game, but actually this is now us realizing all we need is 18 points per game. I looked at what his stats have been this playoff series. He's shooting 54% from three. And some of those shots, they're not just catch and shoots. He's moving about off screens, a few crossovers, a few heads. I'm like, this is OKC PG. This is Indiana Pacers PG. So he's just refined his game to ensure that he has longevity, but also to ensure that when he needs to, he'll step up and is that, grown man in the room that can help guide the likes of VJ and indeed Tyrese in the moments that matter. So he really deserves so much credit. So I've got nothing but praise for what I've been seeing over the last game. So we go into Boston Saturday, Sunday morning, if we're being pedantic. I think it's midnight tip-off. I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to do it. I'm probably getting so far ahead of myself, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I don't care. I want to make the prediction. I want to, as I say, over chest. I think we will beat the Boston Celtics, Game 7 in Boston, after being 3-1 down in the series.
I wish I was as I'm confident. I'm more than 50%. But like I said, it's just dependent on those threes. If Pritchard is very streaky, he was 1 for 5 last night, and if you can hold him and White, because White didn't even hit a 3 last night. So if one of those two can have a bad game, even if one of them has a good game or semi-good game, maybe they're 25-30% from 3 rather than 20% or 0, then I feel confident. And also if Embiid keeps getting the calls and getting their bigs into foul trouble, then I could go there. But it's very dependent on Boston as well. I'm quite confident we'll do our thing again, and it'll be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a very close game.
Oh yeah,
it's just whether it's going to be, are they going to not be shooting from? Is their 3-point percentage going to be as low as it has been? And is Embiid going to get the calls? And are they going to call the Brown push off as like they have all series? And I know there's been a couple blowouts by both teams this series, but I do think this one's going to be a close, tight game. And Tatum, I don't believe Joe. He's saying that he's okay, just went back to the locker room and he went back on the net. I think there's more to it than that. I think he's got a slight injury.
Yeah, I think from what I've read, and I'm by no means any medical expert, but obviously he had a bad Achilles injury, which is never nice to see, even if it is for the guy that always kills this team. But he had a bad Achilles injury, and from what I've gathered, when you have an injury like that and you're still not 100% with it, you overcorrect, and that actually worsens the other Achilles. And it looks as if that's what's happened. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean you get the old magic spray out, or you just take a bit of pain relief, a few injections here and there, and you're just like, let's just go through it? Or do you have to think a bit more long term if you're the Boston Celtics and think, well, actually, hang on, if we end up with another injury similar ilk to last year, then he's got 2 weak Achilles. He's probably going to be back again this time next year, and that does us absolutely no favors in the long run. I mean, I do think he'll feature. I just think there's too much at stake for him to not. But if you're Joe Mazzulla, that throws another spanner in the works, and it's going to create anxiety. It'll be anxiety in the garden. If we start strongly, we set the tone and we set the atmosphere for that arena, then we can really get in their heads. And I think that's what that has to be communicated, is that they're going to be loud. It's going to be incredibly loud. It's a game 7 against a huge rival. But if you quieten them down, if Embiid starts getting people in foul trouble, if he starts getting to the free throw line, breaking up the play a bit, getting to the mid ranges, then that's going to frustrate him. And that's when we start getting in their heads a bit, because once the game starts picking up speed, that suits them, because that's when they find those transition points. That's when they get people in free in the corner, the likes of Howes, the likes of Brown, Tatum, Pritchard, White, whomever. I mean, to be honest, their whole team can shoot. So that's what you need to do. You need to start dictating the play. You need to start, utilizing the dark arts a bit. You need to think about, right, what is going to just make sure we take the sting out of the game and almost just make it nasty. It's like a classic sort of smash and grab as you'd see in football. How do you just take the sting out of the game, take the fans out of it, and just make it all about you? And that's the real key for us, I think. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, how we do that, or if we do that rather, it will remain to be seen. But I've just got a good feeling, and I think the reason I have this feeling is perhaps I'm just still high off the fumes of what I saw this morning, and it's entirely plausible. But I just think this squad, fine, it's got so many faults. We've talked to the cows come home about the faults it's got, be that the backup centre being unreliable, be that the fact we haven't got enough size, we haven't got enough rebounding, we haven't got enough shooting, you name it, playmaking. But that starting 5 can give anyone a game if everyone in that starting 5 is playing well. And yesterday, or this morning, however you want to talk about it, Embiid was good, wasn't his best. Paul George was probably at his best. Maxey was good, not at his best. VJ, not at his best. Oubre was just probably good to best. So this team has more to give. Their team, they'll say the same thing. They've got more to give. But I think us on our best, they can't handle Embiid. I think that's a real big thing. I think we can throw a lot of different looks at Tatum. And I hate to be horrible, but if we know that Tatum's got a problem with his Achilles, I would say throw all these options at him. Let's get super aggressive Kelly Oubre on him. Let's get Terrier like Quentin Grimes on him. And let's just chuck the kitchen sink at him and make him proper uncomfortable. Because when Jason Tatum goes, then it's Jaylen Brown who has to step up. And as you've already alluded to, he hasn't got much of a game in terms of creating his own offense. Brilliant player. We know what he can do, but he's not a 1A. He can't create his own offense to the same ability that Tatum can, not in the half court. Brilliant in regular season, we saw that, but in the half court, I don't buy it. So those are your keys here. So are you going Sixers then, or are you?
Yeah, I think defensively, I'm saying I'm 70% confident, and it's based on the defensive display that we've seen the last 2 games, and Joel being a little bit better, even though he nearly got a triple-double last night. But if he continues to get the assists, because his assist numbers have been great the last 2 games. So I think you're right. We've got something. And then if that does happen, that they get a little bit better from 3, let's just say there's a hopefully it's only a small margin increase, because I think it will be better. But if there's only a slight increase, like I say, maybe 1 for 4 rather than 0 for 4, or 2 for 6 rather than 1 for 6 or whatever. If Embiid just notches it up a little bit with his offense, then yeah, I think that makes up for the points they're going to make from some of the open threes, because like I say, Pritchard or someone like that will probably end up, or White will end up having a big game. So yeah, and I agree. You got to go if you know someone's injured. You got to. I think people have taken advantage of that with Joel and Maxi. You know, Maxi we still think's carrying a slight finger issue, and I think people have been targeting him and Joel in the past. And why can't we target someone and get our revenge?
I think also there's the narrative aspect, and I mean, like, you know, in NBA is the reason it's so good is because the stories that underpin it. Embiid is always, you know, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And I'm not saying we're gonna, you know, go and win the NBA finals, but he's not had his playoff moment.
No,
And because it's always been ruined because we've always lost a series. You know, since I've been a fan, I know you've been, you know, in a polite way, around the block longer than myself when it comes to the Sixers. I've not seen us win a really competitive series. And it's really frustrated me personally because it's never felt like when we could do something special, we ever do. And for me, you know, if I'm Embiid, he must feel similarly because you know, ironically enough, I guess when I started supporting the Sixers, it was kind of when he started getting those playoff games. So I kind of understand from his perspective. It's like, well, I've not had my playoff moment. I've not had my Damian Lillard from half court buzzer beater. I've not had, you know, my Ray Allen in the corner moment. And it's about time he has that game. And it's about time that was then typified with a series win. And who better to do it against than the team that has consistently caused you pain, that has consistently mugged you off. And not only that, you were 3-1 down, you come back, it's 3-3. You're going to their place to make it hopefully a huge turnaround win. We know what Joel's like. He is licking his lips at the prospect of that story. And then it's New York. This is primed for a redemption arc that is just, I don't think he could have written it any better. This is what he wants. He wants the Celtics. He wants to take them down. He wants the Knicks. He wants to take them down. And whoever's left, he'll take them down. Because, to be honest, look, I'm getting so far ahead of myself. But if we get past the Knicks, I mean, who is it? Cleveland? So it could be him taking down his old buddy, James Harden. I mean, how is that for a narrative? It is just so perfectly written. And then look, we would lose in the finals if we ever got there. But I think we're ready and shaped up for what could be a really magnificent story for Embiid, and he deserves a story. It would be lovely to get a ring, but he deserves a story at the very least, because that's what the likes of Lillard have at least had. He's not won a ring, but he's got something away from it all. So for me, that's sort of why I'm buying into it. 'Cause I just think he must be so ready, so pumped to really take the time, and he should know what it means. And he's probably communicating exactly the same thing to everyone else. Like this means everything, not just to me, but to the city, to the fans. And you're gonna have to be up for this. And that's actually, ironically enough, we mugged him off a lot. But someone like Kyle Lowry here is going to be pretty handy to have as perhaps a bit of an adult in the room, but also a Philly native, you know. So I just got a feeling. I don't know. I could be chatting absolute nonsense, but I've got a feeling. That's my passionate sort of speech over. But, I could be chatting absolute waffle. So I'm just ready. I'm ready to go. So elsewhere in the league, you know, we chatted about the Sixers. We know what's going on. We know what's at stake. This has been a mental opening round of the playoffs in both the East and the West. Now, I would like to start with Detroit.
Yes.
I mean, you can probably figure out why I want to start in Detroit. I mean, why don't you explain why do we want to start in Detroit?
Because they are potentially the worst #1 seed of all time, and we could have played them, but we beat the Magic. So now the Magic have got a nice chance of getting through to the next round.
I mean, to be honest, that's not even the reason. I'm thinking of even more of a petty reason.
Harris.
Yeah,
Harris, yeah.
Because of course, you know, he wants to tell us enjoy the playing, and we haven't even got anywhere yet, so we could be going out the same round as him. Enjoy the playing, mate. You're going to go down to an 8th seed, in quite spectacular fashion as well. When we think of all the times an 8th seed has beat a 1 seed, I think this is probably the most embarrassing one. You know, I know when we beat the Bulls back in 2012, 2009, I don't know. You're going to have to fill in the gaps there for me.
12, but yeah,
Rose wasn't playing, was he? So you can sort of like, you can understand it. But this is like, no, everyone's there, everyone's ready to go, and then Cade Cunningham's putting up record turnover numbers. You know, Harris is, you know, he's doing stuff, but you want more than just stuff. And I just, it's just, this is another thing. I just want to get one over him. I want to be like, if we just get to the second round and we've gone further. I mean, they haven't actually lost yet.
No,
but the you know, the Magic 3-2 up. They play tonight in Orlando, and you kind of fancy him to see it out. I mean,
yeah,
what a car crash that's been for Detroit. I mean, and that's not a pun actually on the Motor City, but it's a pretty good one.
that is a good one. Yeah.
But I mean, it's just gone so terribly wrong. And we can take the bitterness aside. They're a good team. I didn't see this coming.
No, you know, Magic on paper are actually a really good team. They just, for some reason, just can't gel it together. And like you said, there's no excuse for Detroit. When we played the Bulls, Jakeem Noah went down first, and that was a big loss. And then Derrick Rose went down. So they lost 2 out of 5 starters by game 4.
And he was a defensive. Noah was like defensive player of the year candidate, wasn't he? He was,
yeah.
yeah.
He was just so dominant. And then obviously we still needed Iggy to make the clutch free throws. So you're right. You know, that was one of the last times there was a 1v8, and it was like that, and it was an unexpected one, and this definitely is. But the Magic, yeah, the team on paper, you know, a team that we both admire. You know, there is some good players there. It's not like they've got bums there. They have got, you know, Banchero, I think, so one of the best players in the league. You know, like, you know, in the top 20 sort of thing, and could probably push himself to top 10 if he has a great series here and going into next year. But they've just not made it click all year, and then they've just gone there against a team that's been clicking all year, and you know, got one of the best young players in Cunningham. So you think, okay, you know, they've got some good pieces around them, but Cade was just unplayable all year. But the fact he's just turning the ball over and just being, it would be great because he's not getting help from a certain player that we've discussed either. You know, so it is great. You know, I don't think he's had a 0-point game yet, but he's certainly doing a lot of cardio like he did with us.
And it's even like Jalen Duran is not quite at it. I think I overheard earlier the most points he's had in a playoff game is still just 12 for someone who is kind of basically the second option. That's pretty crazy. So yeah, this is throwing out a lot of surprises, and the East is wide open. Like, I genuinely feel like, I mean, the Knicks have shown themselves to be fallible. The Celtics have shown themselves to be fallible, and those are the two which are the strongest. I mean, like, I look at the Cleveland series as well, and you know, Cleveland, I don't know what to make of Cleveland. I really, really don't. I mean, fine, they got Harden, they got Mitchell. Mitchell's awesome, as we know. I just don't know how that translates to a playoff setting, simply because, again, they've got 2 bigs who can't shoot. And that for me is always a concern. I mean, defensively awesome, but that is a bit of a concern. And you know what, the Raptors have really taken them to task. You know, on another day, the Raptors are 3-2 up, not the other way around. And I think Toronto, if they go through, I mean, that could be a really big test for anybody, and they'll go in a deep series with whomever they come out against. You know, it really is up for grabs in the East. Whereas, you know, out west, we know it's going to be one of the Spurs or the Thunder. But what was a shock is last night as well, Denver, you know, waved goodbye in the first round. This is despite the fact Minnesota didn't have Anthony Edwards. Minnesota didn't have a couple other players as well, I believe. I think they had, at some point, Mike Conley had to come back and play. Dosunmu was injured. So Mike Conley, at the ripe old age of, 38, was playing minutes, and they still won. And you know what? I was watching it back and I was like, wow, this is the best game I've seen Rudy Gobert ever play. And Jokic and the Nuggets have now got to figure out where to go next, because I'm not sure if you saw, Jamal Murray got taken out for Tyus Jones. It was playing that bad. So this playoffs is just throwing up a massive sort of curveball, in the sense of, I do not know where it's going to go. I mean, we know someone that it's going to be OKC or Spurs from the West, and that series is going to be awesome. I cannot wait for that. But out the East, I mean, are you ready to make a prediction for who's coming out the East?
No, I mean, I didn't realise that Cavs was tonight as well. I knew the Magic was. So frustrating. There's only a half-hour time. I've just seen a half-hour time difference, but I think the Cavs will have an easier. The Cavs Raptors series. I think whoever wins that will get to the finals, because I think that series will get wrapped up. I think the Magic go through. Even the Magic, yeah, it doesn't matter who goes through. I think the game it'll be a 4-2 win for whoever wins out of Cavs and Raptors. I just think Pistons and Magic have been too inconsistent. Cavs have been quite consistent this year. Raptors have had spells of consistency. So I think it'll be the winner of that series. However, I would love to say it'll be us, but
Ask us in about 48 hours.
yeah, if we get, I do generally think though, I'm like you. I think there is a redemption thing there. Embiid's only real clutch moment was like I think game 2 against Toronto in the first round. So it didn't really mean much other than I think we were tying at the time and it won the game from memory. But he's not had that, and obviously he's been on the end of one with Kawhi, which will always be in our deep darkest memories. But it's the narrative's there, the story's there, and I've already seen some conspiracy theories online about them thinking that's the case, and I've also seen that they reckon it'll be us and OKC, and the game will last 4 hours because Embiid and SGA will be on the floor. So I've seen all of those. So if there is a script writer out there that makes up all the American sports and conspiracies, that's probably going to be the script.
That sounds enthralling as a finals go, but we will have to take it one step at a time. But I think we'll finish up in a second because I think we crammed so much into such a short space of time. But I think the last time we beat the Celtics in a playoff series was, I think, the 80s, if my memory serves me correctly. So I would be right in thinking, obviously, I wasn't alive. You weren't alive for that, were you? Or at least you weren't conscious in terms of what's going on. So, excuse me. This would be monumental. I was thinking the other day, this is when I was down in the dumps, 3-1 down. I was like, will I ever see us just beat the Celtics in a playoff series? And this is for the first time. I know we had the Doc Rivers series where we were so close. I never felt it. This is the first time I'm feeling, I think we're going to do it. It doesn't mean we absolutely gonna. We could still easily lose. But I just got a feeling we're gonna get there. Please God, we're gonna get there.
So you think we're going to come out of the East then? Is that your prediction?
I think we're gonna. All I care about is coming out the first round at this stage. If we come out the first round, everything else is a bonus. But I just think if we come out, beat the Celtics, the momentum behind this team. Obviously, we only go as far as Joel takes us. But the Knicks are weird. On paper, they're awesome, but they just don't click. I read somewhere that, have you ever seen Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby have a good game on the same night? And it's a very good point because I haven't. So, it raises the point that actually I think for whatever reason, despite the fact that this team is really well made, as in the Knicks, it's fallible. They're there to be got at. And if we could get past New York as well, that would be something else. But I guess I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm feeling it.
That'll be another 7-6 game series as well. That'll be a really tough one, I think.
That'll be very, very tough.
Yeah, but then the City will be brought in, because I think the Sixers and the Flyers are carrying the flag now, and it's not just because it's the plus. I think the Phillies have really let themselves down with what they've done this year with the way they performed, and obviously now they've had to move on from Topper, but. So I think there's a lot of focus on the Sixers and Flyers just because of the way it is. And yeah, let's hope that they can do it and get to the second round. And I'll be proud of the lads this year. And I'd probably, the way Nurse has coached the last couple of games kind of makes me question why he hasn't done that before. But I think gives me a bit of hope that he'll probably stay next year. I think they're going to stay now. Now we've taken it to 7 games. So hopefully it means that they'll think of something next year. Hopefully get Paul George banned again for 20 games because that seemed to have benefited him, and coming off the drugs actually because but yeah, and Joel, I mean, it wasn't an injury, was it, that stopped him playing this time? It was a appendix. So,
of course it was.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah.
Of course it was. It's just something mental. So yeah, that is where we're at, and that is the Sixers, and it's fun and games for now. It's all fun and games for now. One thing I will say is if we do end up with a New York series, we need to find a way to stop getting New York fans into the stadium. And I've put it forward, or the arena. I said to you, so if that means you've got to go to a local school and hand out tickets for $20 a piece, do it. I don't care that you lose money. They'll pay for stuff on the day in the shops, at the bar, at the snack stand, whatever. You cannot have Knicks fans in that arena because they will, unfortunately, outdo us. And it's embarrassing, and you know how to get your way around it. You got your season tickets. You've then got members. You could say, right, well, like what we do in the football here. Well, the next lot, if you want tickets, goes to members. After that, the next available batch of tickets goes to people who live in the Philadelphia area or live in Pennsylvania. Or do you know what I mean? It's easy to monitor. Fine, you'll get people that slip through the cracks, but we're not doing enough to stop that. If you want this team to genuinely do well, you've got to intervene here.
Yeah, I think if you say you can only use Ticketmaster, the official Sixers one, and not allow any third party tickets to enter the arena, it can help. But I mean, last night I saw my friend, I forgot to say this earlier on. He's the one that lent me or gave me the tickets actually, because no one brought them when we played the Knicks in a regular season game. And I sat down, it was amazing seats. They're like $300 each, the two tickets. So it was like $600 with $40 loaded on there for food and drink per ticket. He sold the tickets last night for $130 each because people didn't want to go to the game last night. They were adamant we weren't going to do that. But now there's momentum. You're right. You can't do that. And you've seen it with the World Cup, and you've seen it. The New Yorkers have got money. We know that. And it's cheaper for them to drive, park, and buy 60 than it is to go to Madison Square because Madison Square is so tiny, which I didn't realise until a few years ago. And that's the problem. And we need to make sure we can nip that in the bud. But unfortunately, I think unless they do a Ticketmaster only or something like that, then I think unfortunately people are gonna make a quick buck and flip them over to the New York fans.
Well, you're asking an uber capitalist businessman to not be an uber capitalist businessman.
This is it, yeah.
so I think that therein lies the issue. But we'll just, we are getting ahead of ourselves. We'll just take it one game at a time, and hopefully that we'll actually be in a position where we have the luxury of talking about the ticketing. So obviously, of course, like I said, we play tomorrow. One announcement I do have is that PSI will be showing that live. That's at their Waterloo venue and indeed at their Kensington venue. That is going to be alongside, of course, the Philadelphia Flyers against is it Carolina Hurricanes?
Yep.
So that is the start of the second round.
That is, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a really exciting time to be a Philly sports fan. Even if you're just the Flyers fan and you've just found your way listening to this podcast for the last half an hour, then absolutely you can just go and watch the Flyers game. If more likely you're a Sixers fan and you just want to go watch the Sixers game, then absolutely go do that as well. You will have the opportunity to do both, meet some new people. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I have other commitments this weekend, which are unavoidable, let's say. So I won't be there for that. But I do hope, I really, really hope that if we get to that second round, we'll have a really nice tip-off time, maybe like a 1 o'clock in the afternoon UK time. That's a bit ambitious, actually. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon US time, so 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock UK time, and we could all get around a PSI and can just properly support the boys from there. So yeah, that's all we're going to have time for today, because I think we covered all bases, like I said. So Sam, where can we find you on the old socials?
Yeah, I'm on X, Sam UK Sixers fan, and also in the PSI channels. So I'm always in those chats as well, which I'm sure you're going to go on to in a moment. But where can we find you, Ben?
Yep. So at UK 76ers, that is on obviously X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and indeed it is also on Instagram. We are also part of the Philly Sports International group, which means that if you pay just £20 a year to be a member, then what you get is access to our WhatsApp group chats, which covers the Eagles, covers the Phillies, covers college sports, covers the Sixers, covers the Flyers, covers everything you want to know about Philly. It also gives you access to our annual trips where we go out over to Philadelphia and do all sorts, obviously go watch some games, go on tours of the link, perhaps meet a player or two. So really, really fun opportunities there. Access to our fantasy leagues, which if you do well in, you can get some incredible prizes, especially some of those Eagles ones. I mean, we're talking outrageously good signed pieces and memorabilia. For the Sixers, we've been giving away jerseys, so it's going to get those sent off soon, as well as some lovely bottles of whiskey with our partners at Loch Lomond. So all of that is available for just £20 a year, and the options and the opportunities that we give you is only going to grow. We are only in our young stages. We are not finished yet. So that's all we got for now. Hopefully by the time we're talking to you next time, it is going to be us preparing you for the second round, rather than us miserably reviewing what has been a topsy-turvy season, and probably begin previewing what we need to do for the draft. But I want to prolong that draft chatter for now. I want to put that on the back burner, and we're going to want to just focus on that playoff run, the dream playoff run under Joel Embiid. Until such a time, all the best. Catch you later.